My name is Ethan. I'm 31, and I've lived in Portland, Oregon for a little over 3 years now. I moved here for what everyone moves here for: the greener lifestyle, the breweries, the hiking trails that make even the worst days feel manageable. I loved it here. At least I did. If I sound like someone telling a story from the other side of a catastrophe, it's because I am. This all started last October, during one of those weeks where Portland couldn't decide between raining or pretending not to. I had been working remote for days, staring at spreadsheets until my brain felt like wet cardboard. By Thursday, I needed to get outside. So after shutting my laptop, I grabbed my jacket and headed toward Forest Park, planning an evening walk on one of my favorite routes, Wildwood Trail. It was already dimming when I got there, but I'd walked the trail hundreds of times. Portland's early sunsets never bothered me. Besides, the rain had scared off most hikers, leaving the forest quiet and still. My ideal reset button, or so I thought. About 20 minutes into my walk, I noticed something off. The trail was muddy, scattered with fresh boot prints. Normal, except for one set that stood out. Large, deep. Too deep to be from someone walking casually. Whoever it was had passed through recently. As I kept walking, I suddenly saw him. A man, standing perfectly still off the trail, half shielded behind a Douglas fir. He was tall, taller than anyone I'd expect to see casually wandering a trail alone in the rain. Easily 6'4", maybe more. He wore a soaked, charcoal gray jacket, dirty work boots, and a white beanie pulled low over his forehead. He didn't react when I noticed him. Didn't wave, didn't nod, didn't even pretend to be tying a boot or checking a phone. He just stared, expressionless, hands in his pockets. I slowed down. Hey, my voice echoed awkwardly. No response. I kept moving, deciding not to engage. Portland has its fair share of strange trail wanderers, and the last thing I wanted was a confrontation in the middle of the forest with no cell reception. But a minute later, I glanced over my shoulder. He was gone. Not walking away, not on the path, just gone. I shook it off and pushed forward, telling myself I was being dramatic. But that feeling, tight, alert, animal-level alarm, wouldn't leave. By the time I turned back, the woods had grown darker. The canopy always hides what little light is left. As I walked, I heard something behind me. Not footsteps, something slower, more deliberate. A single branch snapping, then another, then nothing. I turned quickly, scanning the trees. At first, I didn't see him. Then, my eyes adjusted. He was standing farther down the trail, maybe 50 feet away. Same posture, same blank stare, like he'd been carved into the scenery. This time, my breath went shallow. How the hell? I muttered. I hadn't heard him approach. The mud should have made every step loud, but he stood there like he'd been waiting for hours. Again, no words, no movement, just that awful, unblinking stare. I felt pressure building behind my ribs, something halfway between panic and disbelief. I wasn't a small guy, but something about him made every instinct in my body scream danger. I started walking faster, and that's when his posture changed. Not a lot, just a shift of weight, like he was preparing to move. I didn't run, not yet, but my pace grew quick and uneven. Rain picked up, hitting the brim of my jacket like static. After a minute, I had to look back. He wasn't 50 feet away anymore. He was 20, still silent, still staring, still following. My heart kicked into full panic. This time, I ran. Wildwood Trail winds like a serpent. I sprinted through mud, slipping, grabbing tree trunks to stay upright. I could hear him now, heavy boots thudding behind me, steady but unhurried, as if he knew I wasn't getting away. When I reached the trailhead, I practically launched myself into the parking area. My car was the only one left, just my luck. I yanked open the door, jumped inside, locked it, and turned the engine on. But before I drove off, I looked toward the trail entrance. He stood there, right at the edge, breathing heavily, shoulders rising and falling under the wet jacket. But he didn't step into the light. He didn't chase. He just watched my car pull away. That stare stuck to me like a disease. I told myself I was overreacting. Maybe he was homeless, mentally ill, or just weird. Portland had plenty of people who avoided eye contact or didn't follow social norms. Fear exaggerates. But the next morning, I stepped outside my apartment and froze. Across the street, leaning against the telephone pole, was a man in a charcoal gray jacket and white beanie. I blinked. My stomach dropped. He wasn't looking at me, but he didn't need to. It was him. I ducked back inside immediately, heart pounding, palms sweating. I peeked through the blinds. He hadn't moved. He stayed there for 20 minutes. Then he walked away. No glance at my building, no acknowledgement. Just a slow walk down the block, like he was heading nowhere. My mind raced. How did he find me? Trails don't have security cameras. I didn't see any cars. He shouldn't know who I am, where I live, unless he followed my car from the park. That thought alone made my stomach twist. 2 nights later, around 1:30 a.m., I woke to something subtle enough to question whether it was part of a dream. Tap. Then another. Tap. My apartment bedroom faces the back alley, 2 stories above ground. No fire escape, no ledge, no good place for someone to stand. But the tapping came again. Soft, slow, deliberate. I grabbed my phone, its glow harsh in the darkness, and crept to the blinds. I hesitated, hand hovering, nearly shaking. I lifted one slat with a finger, and my legs gave out. He was standing below my window, in the alley, looking straight up at me. His head tilted back so far, I could see the whites of his eyes, even in the shadow. His beanie was gone now, rain matting down long, dark hair over his face. He lifted one hand and tapped the wall again, just once. I stumbled back from the window, nearly hitting my nightstand, my whole body locked up with terror. I called 911 with a shaking voice, whispering that someone was outside my window, someone who'd been following me. The police arrived within minutes. They searched the alley. He was gone. Again. After that night, I didn't sleep. I taped over the windows. I changed my routine. I took different routes home. I even looked into moving, but the wait list for new units was months long. A week passed with no sightings. I thought maybe he'd moved on. Then on a Tuesday afternoon, I came home from work to find something chilling. My apartment door was unlocked. I always lock it, always. I'm obsessive about it. And I distinctly remembered hearing the latch click that morning. I pushed the door open slowly. Nothing was disturbed. Nothing was missing. Everything was exactly where I left it. Except one thing. On the counter sat a single wet boot print. Large, deep, gray mud, the same color as the trail. My throat tightened so fast, I thought I'd choke. He'd been inside my home, standing in my kitchen long enough for mud to dry. No note, no message, no threat, just a silent calling card. I checked myself into a hotel that night. I didn't care about the price. I just needed distance from that apartment, from the trail, from anything familiar he could use to find me. Around 3:10 a.m., I woke to the sound of something scraping against the hotel door. I sat up slowly, breath caught in my chest. The scraping came again, soft, metal on metal. Then, the door handle jiggled, not forcefully, not in a rush, just a slow, testing twist, like someone learning how the lock worked. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 again, whispering that someone was trying to get into my room. Dispatch told me to stay quiet and steady on the line. The handle kept moving, left, right, left. Then, finally, silence. When police arrived, they found nothing in the hall except faint, watery footprints leading toward the stairwell. They didn't catch him. They never caught him. I moved out of Portland within a week, packed everything into my car, broke my lease, didn't even bother selling half my furniture. I drove south, Oregon, then California, then even further. I never used the same hotel twice. I changed my number, deleted social media, started paying cash for everything. That was 6 months ago, but some nights, even now, I still hear that tapping. Not from a window, not from a wall, from inside my dreams. Always rhythmic, always patient, always him. And sometimes, when I wake up, I swear I can still smell rain-soaked mud. My name is Daniel. I'm 29, and before last winter, I never believed reality could shift. I didn't believe in glitches, lost time, or the idea that you could step into a room and come out somewhere completely wrong. But what happened on Hennepin Avenue last December hasn't left me. It's still reshaping my nights, my memories, my life. And I don't expect anyone to believe me. I just need to get it out. It started with an invitation to a house party. I had just moved to Minneapolis for work and barely knew anyone. My coworker, Josh, invited me to a get-together at his friend's place in Uptown. Nice area, old houses, good bars, young crowd. I didn't want to go, but sitting alone in my studio apartment felt worse. "You'll love it," Josh said. "Chill people, Good music, nothing weird. That ended up being the funniest lie anyone has ever told me. I Ubered over around 9:30 p.m. Snow was falling, that soft, powdery kind the city gets when the air is too cold to care. The house looked normal enough. 3 stories, Christmas lights around the porch, music thumping from inside. A woman I'd never met opened the door. She beamed. "Oh, you must be Daniel. Come in." I stepped into warm air and the smell of spiked cider. People crowded the living room, drinking, dancing, shouting over the playlist. Nothing unusual. Josh waved me over from the kitchen. "Grab a drink. Make yourself at home." And I did. For a while, everything was fine. Until it wasn't. About an hour in, I needed to get away from the noise. My ears were buzzing, and the heat of the packed house made my head throb. I zipped away from the crowd, went up the stairs, and pushed open the first door I saw. I expected a bedroom, maybe a bathroom. Instead, I found a nearly empty room. No bed, no dresser, just bare hardwood floors and a single wooden chair facing the window. The walls were painted a dull beige, the color landlords choose when they want to avoid commitment. There were no decorations, no curtains, no footprints in the dust on the floor. Just that chair. Something about the room felt hollow. Like sound didn't echo, like the air didn't move. I stepped in cautiously, wondering if I'd walked into a room the tenants weren't using. Then, the door clicked behind me. Not slammed, not forced, just a soft, deliberate click. I spun around and grabbed the doorknob. Locked. "What the hell?" I whispered. I turned the knob again, and again. Still locked. My stomach tightened. I knocked lightly, embarrassed at the idea of bothering someone. "Hey, sorry, I think the door jammed. Can someone give me a hand?" No answer. The music downstairs thumped on, oblivious. I tried again, louder. "Hello, can someone open this?" Nothing. I pressed my ear against the door, straining for any sign of life outside. Silence. The music had stopped. I hadn't even noticed it fading. Now there was just this thick, dead quiet. Like the house was holding its breath. After what felt like 5 minutes of jiggling the knob and debating whether to panic, the lock suddenly clicked open on its own. No footsteps, no voices, just a soft, metallic snick. I hesitated, then opened the door. The hallway was dark. Not dim, dark. Like every light bulb in the house had burnt out. The music didn't return. The voices didn't return. No one was on the stairs. No one was in the hallway. The house felt abandoned. I walked back toward the stairwell, calling out quietly, "Josh? Hello?" My voice sounded wrong, too loud, even though I was barely whispering. I reached the bottom of the stairs and stepped into the living room. The entire first floor was empty. Cups on counters, jackets on hooks, a beer can rolling slowly across the floor, as if someone had just kicked it a moment ago. But no people, no sound, no breathing, just emptiness. I stood frozen in the middle of the room as dread washed over me. Where did everyone go? I walked into the kitchen. Empty. I checked the bathroom. Empty. I checked the back porch. Empty. I even opened the pantry, because my brain no longer knew what was logical. Still empty. I told myself, maybe they all went outside. Maybe they left for a bar. Maybe this is some kind of prank. But I didn't believe any of it. Not with that silence pressing in on me. Not with the cold air drifting through the house, even though every window was closed. I stepped toward the front door, ready to get the hell out, when I suddenly heard voices behind me. Music kicked on again, mid-song. Laughter, footsteps, drinks clinking. I spun around. The living room was full again. Packed, crowded, alive. But something was off. Everyone was smiling, moving, talking. But not one person was looking at me. Not even accidentally. It was like I wasn't there. "Josh?" I said, spotting him by the couch. He didn't react. I moved closer. "Josh!" I said louder, tapping his shoulder. My hand touched him. I felt the fabric of his jacket. But he didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't acknowledge me at all, like I was air. I backed away, pulse hammering. I grabbed a girl's arm gently. "Excuse me, can you see me?" Nothing. She kept laughing with someone else, walking past me as though her arm hadn't just passed through my hand. But it hadn't. I felt her skin. I felt her warmth. She just didn't register me. I turned in a slow circle. 50 people. All of them ignoring the one man standing in the middle of the room, shaking like a leaf. I shouted this time, "Hello? Does anyone?" Everyone stopped. All at once. Every voice, every laugh, every movement. They froze like mannequins. The music cut out mid-beat. Dozens of heads turned toward me at the exact same time. Every face wore the same expression. Neutral, blank, empty. Their eyes reflected nothing. No recognition, no emotion, no humanity. Just observation. Like I was an insect pinned to a board. One of them stepped forward, a man in a flannel shirt I hadn't noticed before. He smiled. Not a warm smile, not a friendly one. His mouth stretched too wide, too slowly, like the skin didn't want to move that way. We were wondering. He said quietly, how long it would take you to open the door. "What?" I whispered. Another voice behind me spoke, a woman near the kitchen. "You stayed longer than most." Another, "We've been waiting." Another, "You shouldn't have gone upstairs." Another, "You saw it." My throat tightened until I could barely breathe. Saw what? They all spoke at once. The room. The air vibrated with the sound, and my vision blurred around the edges. I staggered backward toward the door. No one followed, but their eyes tracked me in perfect unison. Every step I took, their heads tilted the same direction, synchronized like a flock of birds turning mid-flight. I reached the door and yanked the knob. It opened easily. Cold winter air hit my face like a slap. I ran. His street was strange, Empty. Still. Snow falling steadily, but no cars, no people, no movement. Every house on the block was dark, except the one I had just fled. I sprinted down the sidewalk, slipping on ice, breathing sharp, painful bursts of air. Halfway down the block, I heard it, a door opening behind me. Slow, deliberate, careful. I didn't turn around. I kept running until I reached the intersection and saw something that made my stomach drop. No tire tracks in the snow. No footprints except my own. No headlights in any direction. Just a blank, white, silent street, as though I was the only person left in this part of the city. I pulled out my phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi, not even the time. The screen flickered like it was glitching. A whisper of wind passed behind me. I turned. 2 party guests stood at the corner, watching me, still smiling, those wrong, stretched smiles. I stepped back. Another person appeared behind them. Then another. Then more. Silent, still, smiling. I turned and ran again. I don't know how long I sprinted through Uptown, but eventually I turned a corner and nearly collided with an Uber parked by the curb. The driver rolled down the window. "You, Daniel?" I froze. He squinted at me. "You good, man? You look pale as hell." The lights of nearby bars were on. Cars were driving by. People were walking dogs and laughing and smoking under awnings. Reality had returned. Or maybe I had returned to it. I jumped into the car and begged him to drive fast. When I looked back, the block I'd come from was completely normal. People outside, cars parked, lights on inside houses. No empty streets, no silent watchers. Just Minneapolis. For weeks, I didn't sleep right. Anytime I closed my eyes, I saw those blank faces staring at me. That unnatural smile. That room with the single wooden chair. And sometimes, when I'm half asleep, I hear a soft, slow click of a door unlocking. The doctors say it was a panic attack, or sleep deprivation, or stress from moving to a new city. They have answers, neat ones. But 3 nights ago, I received a text from an unknown number. A photo of that empty upstairs room. Same chair, same window, and at the bottom of the image, a message. "You stayed longer than most. Come back." I blocked the number, but the picture saved to my phone on its own. And sometimes, when I walk past crowded restaurants or bars, I swear someone inside stops talking, stops moving, and watches me, just like they did that night. My name is Ryan Hale. I'm 34, and for 6 months in 2021, I worked the night shift at a NOAA weather outpost just outside Barrow, Alaska, or Utqiagvik, as it's officially known. It's the northernmost city in the United States, a place where winter isn't a season, it's a sentence. When the sun sets in November, it doesn't rise again for 65 straight days. People call it polar night, and if you stay up here long enough, you learn it's not just the dark that gets you, it's what the dark lets in. I didn't believe that at first, but I do now. I took the job because the pay was insane, and I needed a reset. My last relationship had burned out spectacularly, and I figured nothing helps you forget your problems like staring at wind data for 12 hours at a time. at the top of the world. NOAA Station B-37 sat 3 miles outside town, connected by a single snow-choked road. Nights were quiet, except for the howl of wind racing across empty tundra. The building was small: 1 control room, a short hallway, storage closet, and equipment bay. Cozy, in a depressing government-funded way. My job was simple: monitor wind and temperature trends, log atmospheric anomalies, respond to radio checks, don't fall asleep. That last one was harder than I expected. The darkness wasn't just outside. It pressed at the windows like a living thing. On December 14th, during my 3rd month, the first incident happened. It was 2:11 a.m., dead quiet, except for the hum of heaters. I was reading a paperback when the radio squawked violently, loud enough to make me drop the book. A sharp blare, like the start of an emergency broadcast. I straightened, adjusting the headset. Station B-37, receiving. Identify. Static crackled, then cleared just enough to make out a voice. A woman's voice. Weak, strained, coming through layers of distortion. Please respond. Anyone. I froze. Weather stations in the Arctic don't get distress calls. We're not search and rescue. Repeat, this is B-37. State your location. More static. Then, no, light. They're outside. My heart climbed into my throat. Who's outside? Are you lost? State coordinates. No response. Just a long, low hum, almost like a vibrating metal sheet. Then, suddenly, don't look at them. The line cut out with a violent pop. I sat there, in the chair, pulse slamming, headset still pressed to my ear. Don't look at them. Who the hell was them? I checked logs. No nearby stations were active. No scheduled flights. No field teams. Nothing that explained a stranded woman on emergency radio frequencies. I tried calling it in. No upstream signal. No outgoing line. Nothing. It was as if the radio had spoken into the void. Stepped outside with a headlamp. Cold, biting instantly at my cheeks. The tundra stretched empty in every direction. Flat, pale, endless. No wind, no snow drifting, just stillness. The silence up there isn't normal silence. It's too complete. Like sound itself froze solid. I swept the beam across the ground, stopped breathing. Footprints, crisscrossing the snow around the station. Dozens of them. Bare footprints. Human-shaped. No boots, no tread. Just smooth depressions leading toward the building and away into the dark. The temperature was negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Skin freezes solid in minutes. No one walks barefoot here, not even drunk locals. I crouched, shining the light on one print, and something made my stomach drop. They weren't sinking the way normal footprints should. They were too shallow, too uniform, like they weren't made by weight, but pressed into the surface, as if whatever made them didn't weigh anything at all. I went back inside fast, locked the door, tried to convince myself they were old, wind-carved, something explainable. But they hadn't been there when I arrived for my shift. and they led directly to the back of the building, to the wall behind the equipment bay, where there was no door. 2 nights later, the radio chirped again. No blare this time, just a single, continuous tone, low and vibrating in my bones. It lasted for maybe 8 seconds, then dissolved into a whispery static that sounded almost like breathing. I leaned forward. Station B37, identify. For a moment, nothing. Then, are you still there? It was the same woman's voice. I felt my throat tighten. Yes, what's your emergency? A shuddering exhale. They found the others. Cold prickled down my spine. What others? The ones who looked. She inhaled sharply, like she was stifling a sob. Don't go outside. They hear it when you open doors. My hand hovered above the switch that activated the exterior floodlights. A terrible question formed in my mind. How would she know if I'd gone outside? I forced myself to speak normally. Ma'am, what's your current? But the line exploded with a deafening screech, followed by a metallic banging sound. Then clear as day. It's outside your wall. The transmission ended. I stared at the far wall of the control room. A soft, almost imperceptible vibration thrummed through the plaster, like something brushing against it. I backed toward the hallway, not taking my eyes off that wall. The vibration stopped. Silence pressed in from all sides. That night, I didn't leave the building until sunrise, or what passes for sunrise during polar night, which is just a faint bluish bruise along the horizon. The next week, I saw it, or I saw something. It was 3:40 a.m., and I'd walked to the observation window to stretch. The tundra was pitch black, except for the faint glow of the aurora smearing the sky green. Then, a movement, far out, impossible to judge distance. A shape sliding across the snow. Not walking, not running, gliding, smoothly, like a shadow being dragged by an invisible hand. I blinked hard. It stopped moving. I squinted. The shape was tall, thin, almost spindly, like a person stretched upward too far. And then it turned. Not its body, the whole silhouette pivoted in one impossible motion, facing me. My breath fogged the glass. The thing didn't have features, no face, no eyes, but I felt it watching, staring through thousands of feet of frozen air, directly at the window where I stood. A buzzing filled my ears, like pressure changes on an airplane. Then my radio hissed violently behind me. I turned. A single phrase crackled through. Don't look at them. My knees nearly gave out. When I looked back at the window, it was gone. The incident that forced me to quit happened on January 6th, a night when Barrow got hit with a brutal whiteout blizzard. Wind gusts slammed against the station. Snow whipped horizontally across the small windows, erasing the world outside. The entire building shivered under each gust. Midway through the storm, the generator flickered. The heaters cut out for several seconds. When they came back, the lights glowed a sickly dim yellow. The radio clicked on. No static, just breathing. Slow, ragged breathing. I spoke carefully. This is B37. If you need assistance, state. A faint tapping noise interrupted me. Not over the radio. From the back hallway, the same hallway leading toward the equipment bay. 3 taps, slow, deliberate. I crept forward, heart hammering. The tapping came again, right behind the metal door at the end. Tap, tap, tap. I froze inches from the handle. Then the breathing on the radio changed, fast, panicked. It found you. My grip tightened around the handle without meaning to. From the other side of the door, something brushed the metal. A long scraping sound, almost curious. Then a whisper, impossibly close, as if spoken through the steel itself. Look. The woman's voice on the radio shrieked, "Don't look at it!" I stumbled back as something pressed against the door, just enough to bend the metal inward. Not violently, just testing, pushing, waiting. The generator cut out again. The station went black. In the darkness, something slid across the floor on the other side of the door, slow enough for me to hear every inch of movement. I backed into the control room, chest burning, unable to breathe. The emergency lights flickered on, dim red glow. The door in the hallway was now slightly concave, like someone had leaned their full body weight against it, or something much larger had. The radio crackled one last time. If you looked at it, it knows you now. A cold realization washed through me. I had looked at the shape on the tundra, and whatever it was, it hadn't forgotten. At 6:12 a.m., when the storm finally weakened, I made the decision. I was leaving. Job or no job. I grabbed my coat, threw my logbook on the desk, and pushed through the main door into the brittle morning air. The wind had finally died. Snow drifted in soft spirals. Visibility had increased just enough to make out the road. I took 3 steps into the snow, stopped. Footprints surrounded the station again. Not fresh, not old, just there. Hundreds of them. Perfect circles around the building, spaced evenly, mathematically precise, and all of them facing inward, facing the walls, facing me. Something in my mind broke then. I bolted to the truck, started the engine, and tore down the frozen road without looking back once. I quit on the flight home. They didn't ask for details. Turnover is high in Barrow. People break easily up there. But I can't explain this part. 2 weeks after leaving, I got an email from Noah verifying my shift logs for the winter. Attached was an audio file labeled B37 Emergency 12-14-21. Wave. Curious. I played it. It was the first transmission. But the voice was wrong. It wasn't a woman. It was me. My voice. Whispering through the static. Don't look at them. I never recorded that. I never said it. I deleted the email and blocked the address. But last night, my phone picked up a strange alert at 2:11 a.m. An unknown frequency, a weak signal, a voice buried under static. My voice saying, "Shh, it's outside your wall." And as I lay there frozen in my apartment, I heard it, a soft scraping sound, right behind the drywall, just like before. And now I know what she meant. I looked at it once. That was all it needed. It knows me now, and I don't think it's done.